lagoon.
Neptune's TV is brought to you by
A fragrance from deepest Africa. Dung.
Video by Bantu City Diaries. It's a Congoid man, like the slaves that are in America. Or of course, they aren't slaves anymore. We were the ones that ended that, but some still think that they're on the plantation. Irregardless, this video by him was entitled "Africans Have Built Nothing." His first thing in the comments are, "Why can't black African countries build successful economies?" This whole video will touch on some key economic indicators pointing to why Africa has failed. The hard-hitting video breaks down why sub-Saharan Africa, home to some of the world's largest natural resources, remains poor while others thrive. Let's get into this.
Sub-Saharan Africa is often referred to as the poverty capital of the world, holding the distinction of being home to 8 of the world's top 10 poorest countries.
8 of the 10 world's poorest countries are sub-Saharans. But they've got a lot of resources, so something is not adding up. But that's because you don't know the people we're talking about. It makes a huge difference. Yeah, Congo is like 5th lowest.
The continent produces or manufactures little of significance and faces significant challenges in education, weak and corrupt institutions, research and development, infrastructure, and governance.
So there are quite a few things that are crucial to civilization that they have extreme lacking or problems with. Let's continue.
Nearly 50 countries in sub-Saharan Africa exhibit similar deficiencies across these critical areas. When Africa is mentioned globally, poverty typically comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, those of us that think about Africa think about little kids starving and bloated bellies and flies crawling in and out of their nose and everything, because they used to show that to us on TV, but they don't show it anymore. Like they show National Geographic where there were still primitive people, but they quit doing that because of feelings of black people whenever they see their own people and what they would have been in if it wasn't for Whitey. So we had to kind of stop that, and National Geographic never shows that. But I was a kid watching the Pitjara people who eat grubs and stuff like that, and yeah.
Many Africans seek to immigrate to Europe, North America, and other regions rather than stay in Africa itself.
They do this because they want to be around white people, because they see white people have all the incredible spaceman computerized everything, and they ain't got shit. They could. No, they can't. You're not understanding. What's going to be shown here is the fact that they can't. Let's continue. He's showing a Caucasian metal flying bird here in the picture. This is amazing. It gets people in it and they fly. Yeah, Whitey Cracker can fly. Yeah, it's amazing.
This brings us to the crux of this video. Africans do not know the mathematics on how to build prosperous economies. I posit
that would probably be lowest on the list on the factors and the reasons. I mean, if y'all want to, we can start developing a list and fill it off here. But he's going to start showing you corruption in government and people that have like 65 IQ at best trying to run something other than their mouth and the troubles that it causes.
That black Africans can't build successful economies. When you lack an understanding of economic principles, this will likely hinder your ability to implement effective economic policies that could transform your country into a thriving economy.
Basically, it's your own damn fault. Now, this is maybe the point, or I should mention it a few places in this video, that over $2.4 trillion, it's hard for you to wrap your mind around that, with all the money going everywhere and all this, and finding out that small ones ripped us off for hundreds of billions of dollars and all kinds of things in it. It's hard to wrap around the idea, but there has been trillions of dollars spent to try to better Africa, and we haven't really gotten anywhere on it. And that $1 trillion would go good towards our debt. In fact, a large portion of our debt is locally trying to prop up black people and welfare programs and everything else, along with trillions of dollars to Africa itself. And we're going to see what happened to your trillions of dollars here and what level they got to. Now, during colonialism, and he'll mention this, it was all built up real nice, but they couldn't maintain it and keep any type of infrastructure, and it turned into a ghetto, basically. Let's continue.
Lack the skills needed to transform it into a financial superpower. What is an economy? An economy is a system composed of individuals, businesses, and governments within a region that produces and sells goods and services. It reflects how a nation creates, distributes, and consumes goods and services, as well as its overall financial health and activity.
Now that's a basic understanding there onto it, but it would surprise you that a lot of black people probably listening to this will say, yeah, like they thought they knew that before he said that. They have to repeatedly be explained things, and they say they've got it, but then when you see them try to interact it, they don't. That's another issue. Might want to write that one down. But let's continue.
To have a thriving economy, it must have a government that ensures transparency and protects its citizens.
Did you see him there trying to mooch off the Russians now? Oh yeah, they'll do anything they can. They like the communist idea, especially in a black place, where you give me all your money? Oh, well, never mind. I think the world sees that as a real problem, and America has the right idea going on. But there's some problems in America. It could be fixed real easy, though. We'll get into that at our first commercial break.
Effective government does not own, produce, or sell goods. Instead, it must create a conducive environment for both businesses and individuals. This includes providing solid infrastructure and enacting enforceable policies that would enable these entities to flourish without fear.
Their infrastructure was given to them during colonialism, where they were tried to be propped up enough to where they could have some trade with the other people, because nobody wants to trade for dung huts. So the trade was interacted for that to see if they could get somewhere. And some people actually thought it was going to work, but it didn't, because the people there have no understanding of anything that goes with civilization, manufacturing, things like that. And they have to be taught, and then they have to retain it and be smart enough to. But there's just people over here that can do it right now. I mean, all you do is just give them a blueprint and it happens. But over here, blueprints are far from even possibility. Let's continue.
For instance, Nigeria's primary food source is rice, which thrives in its tropical climate. Yet, it can't farm enough to feed its poverty-ridden people.
They've been taught how to farm now. They were never farmers in the past or anything, no matter what black people try to tell you. They'll tell you all kinds of lies. We were spacemen. We were Wakanda. It's fucking hilarious to watch them try this. But what he's telling you here now is that they farm rice, but they can't even farm enough to actually feed their own population. Whenever they had white people doing farming for them, that was okay and it was going on, and it even took in the fact of the idea that they were getting overpopulated due to the advanced Western medicines and all these other things being brought in there. Population bloomed, and it pretty much had to happen or they were going to start starving to death. I was one of those kids that grew up during the time whenever Sally Struthers from On the Family and stuff used to come on TV and almost cry and show you pictures of black people starving to death and everything and try and get you to help out these primitives in the world that couldn't even feed themselves. And then when they got into the logistics of why, it always kept pointing to the fact of these people aren't able to do what we're asking of them, and it's the only thing that can get them to the point we're trying to get them to, and they can't do it. Let that sink in. Let's go.
Instead, it imports rice. Why is that? There is no incentive to become a rice farmer. Nigeria instead incentivizes criminality than it does productivity.
Rather being a criminal than doing something productive. That sounds familiar. You know, they're having to produce rice, but that's from Oriental people. That's not anything that they had naturally there. The only natural food resources they had there were millet, which is basically bird seed. It's what you feed parakeets. And yams. And have to mention each other. Let's continue.
Establishing a business in Nigeria is notoriously difficult, plagued by hurdles, bureaucratic red tape, rampant corruption, and systemic bribery.
Yeah, actually, if you want to get anything done there, you've got to somehow give money to these people that are already leeching all the money that could come to you in the first place. Yeah, every checkpoint you drive by, they try to get money out of you. It's fucked up. It's like a toll road, but they're not fixing the roads what the toll road's for. They're just mooching off of you. It's terrible. We'll get into that later, but you can see the problems starting to add up here. But it's not there yet, people. You know, wait for it. It's coming.
Government has neglected infrastructure and security, crafting laws that primarily protect politicians and elites while ignoring the broader interest of the population.
Yeah, so many sub-Saharan leaders have been taken over and then taken over again and then taken over again, macheted to death and all the problems and everything. And of course, people are saying we can't have this and get anywhere. But that's all they have. Everybody thinks they can run the country better than the people that are trying to run the country. It keeps going on. Have you heard black people bitching about stuff that goes on in politics? It's weird, but it's like they only have half a clue and not the full picture, and they try to make assumptions off of it. That's why they're easily able to be manipulated in voting and things like that. And they've been voting Democrat since God knows when, because they gave them welfare. And Lyndon Baines Johnson himself said directly he's going to have them voting Democrat for hundreds of years because he knows they're a leech. I don't know, I'm not the greatest LBJ fan and everything that happened with JFK and coming out of that and everything else at all, but was he wrong?
In Nigeria, almost every transaction involves kickbacks and under-the-table deals, creating a perilous economic environment.
If you want anything, you've got to grease their palms everywhere you go. I've done another recent video about a girl that moved there, and she tried to prosper, but not too many weeks into it, she realized she was at an uphill battle. And the sad thing is she moved in the most rich area of Ghana and had a house built for her on the beach and blew all this money, and she had to buy a big old car, you know, a suburban thing, because she's so fat she can't fit her and her 5 kids or 4 kids. One of her kids is being raised by grandma or something still back in the States. You know what I'm talking about. But they can't even fit in the car and everything, and she goes through this whining stuff, and it's been hilarious to expose here and everything. But her mentality during this too is really crazy. And during this, she also mentions that she came there to save the black people, and they're all fucked up and they're stupid and all this shit. And it's like, oh my God, she has no self-awareness. She's talking about her own people and can't realize she's all in the Kool-Aid and don't even know the flavor.
This situation directly contributes to the country's poverty. The Nigerian government should prioritize infrastructure, security, education, and transparency in its policies. With over 150 million mobile phone users in Nigeria, every charging cable they need to charge those phones is imported from countries like China, India, Vietnam, and others. Why?
Anywhere but there. You see, they've got copper. They've got things to make plastic out of. They've got other things. They could buy the tools that make the extruded wire and all the other things out of, but they can't. They can't. They know they can't. And so they just mooch and they buy off other people and stuff. And so it's just one little thing when we say phone chargers, but you could multiply that towards shoes, socks, any clothing, any utensils for food or for cooking, or basically anything in their lives, telephones, anything advanced above stick, basically.
Nigeria produce these cables locally. The government should create incentives to encourage local production of essential goods while facilitating trade within the country and its neighbors.
Now, having a Bantu on here telling us what they should do versus what they're doing is something I've heard all my life. Oh, every time there's a corruption thing, they've got some idea what they're going to do. And then you're like, well, maybe that'll be good enough. And then a couple of years later, you hear it all fell apart and the corruption and everything else. And where did they get? Wow, yeah. Hope we're not blowing money on that. When you get older, you find out we've been blowing money like crazy on those people trying to get them up to a prosperous point. And it seems self-defeative. In this picture are some of the countries of the Congo and the area, and Liberia in the top left-hand corner has been bought back in the time of Lincoln for all sub-Saharans to go back. It's a country, it's their country, it's already there. You want your 40 acres and a mule and your reparations, even though that's long been paid for by welfare and all the problems we had to go with just dealing with you. But then there's a domestication fee that you still owe us for, which is worth more than anything that you could think of. But you still want 40 acres and a mule. Well, fuck a mule, that's not going to help you at all. But you can get 40 acres here moving back to Liberia. We ordered that country right there and made Liberia. And liberation, blah, 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 you see. It was made during the time of Lincoln with the help of James Monroe. In fact, the capital is Monrovia. And it was all set up for them to go back because Lincoln said that there was too great of a difference between the Caucasian heralds of civilization and people that can't even understand it, and that would be too great a burden upon the United States, and so they'd all have to go back. It's weird that you hear that and you see that they're still here. What happened? Well, they killed that man, and then somehow they forgot all about that. I'll have to make my own video series about that, but then again, everybody would claim I'm anti-Semitic if I was to tell you the truth about it. You might have to look into it on your own. But Liberia is built there. You can get your 40 acres and a mule and the whole idea. And it's something that you should enjoy, and you won't have to whine about Whitey anymore or anything else, and we won't have to hear you or your EBT girls in Popeyes ranting off about something and all the other problems. I mean, the exhaustion. The fatigue is become exhaustion.
Ready for more than a holiday? Let Carnageville Cruise Lines take you on a one-way journey to sunny Liberia. Soak in sunshine that feels personal. Build memories that last.
Blacks are even making black fatigue videos now, showing you they can't stand themselves either. But let's continue. We're only a third of the way in.
Another significant product in Nigeria is flour. Why can't Nigeria produce enough flour? When a country lacks the basic ability to produce essential goods like rice, flours, cables, and toothpicks, such a country is bound to be sentenced to a life of poverty.
Yeah, but you can't fix it. Can you imagine going over there and trying to teach them how to make toothpicks or electronic cables Can you imagine all the problems that will entail with that? And if one person starts making good money there, the others harp on him and try to steal it from him. They'll kill him for his money, all kinds of things. If he buys a nice pair of shoes, he better not ever wear them out in public. People that are in America can understand because they've probably seen hundreds of videos where black people killed somebody for their shoes. Back when Jordans were real popular, it was the hip thing to do. I'm not going to buy Whitey Cracker shoes. You see, shoes are Caucasian things too. So is everything that's around you right now. We can just successfully say that. 99.8% or whatever off of it, whatever. But a lot of the other percent are taken up by Orientals. How much are done by Sub-Saharans? Well, it's not enough to even get a percentage. It's not enough to talk about. It's embarrassing to mention. But it's reality. He's trying to help tell you about reality. It's again named Africans Have Built Nothing. That makes me want to get into the Pastor Manning service where he had people getting shot up in the neighborhood and got mad and came in on Sunday morning there and had a sermon where he told black people they need to quit saying they were the Egyptians. They never knew it existed. And to quit saying that they are this or that or everything because they're causing their own problems and people over here killing themselves down the street and it's stupid. And that black people built nothing. That whenever the white man showed up, they had little huts and shit and then nothing of 2 stories, nothing of this, nothing of that, nothing else and everything. And you're lying to yourself trying to make you feel better. And then you go wired up mad like something's really happening and you're causing it to yourself. You're just making up shit and then getting mad about it. It's pathetic. But that's the world we live in. Oh, that's the world they live in now. And we live in the world that has to deal with the fact that they can't comprehend civilization or most anything. It's sad to watch.
Importing them weakens the currency because it creates a reliance on foreign currency.
It does, definitely. It makes you have to do something. And that's one of the reasons why when Joe Biden got in office and all of a sudden he thought we were going to go green and all this stupid shit, he shut down our oil production. And we have the largest oil production in the world available to us. And we shut that off to be dependent on other countries and everything and jacked up prices. It was fucked up. When Trump was around, gas was $1.82. And by the time we ended up with Biden, oh my God, and he's trying to bring it back down now, but everything's been so fucked, it's going to take a while. And now people are trying to talk shit about Trump, and they don't realize how fucked it was before Trump got back a hold of it. But let's not harp on Trump or anything else. Let's look at their issues, because Donald Trump has nothing to do with their issues. He's been the greatest champion of black people in the history of the United States presidency. And black people are constantly trying to call him racist because he doesn't prop them up enough. Can you imagine feeling that you need to be propped up more to be able to exist?
Purchase essential goods. The government should promote local production and encourage international trade to bolster the local economy. That is not rocket science.
No, it's not rocket scientists. And they have no rocket scientists. It's disgusting. It's not rocket science, though. It's actually much below that, far below that. We didn't have rockets when we invented civilization and made it happen. No one's ever been propping up Whitey. No one's ever doing anything like that whatsoever. In fact, in the current modern time, you're not supposed to be able to be proud of your people, the ones that created 99.8% of everything around us and are spaceman heralds leading all of humanity. You're not supposed to be proud of white heritage because that's bad. Oh, what's bad about it? Well, it makes everybody else feel bad because they're not that advanced. Hold on. Everybody else is supposed to be strutting around like they did something, but the ones that did do something, oh, what kind of fucking stupid shit is this? Yeah, it's pathetic. The twist that we've got on America and the world and everything. Meanwhile, what's the real issue with Congos, though? Africans have built nothing. We can't, black countries, build successful economies. I was kind of telling you why. And you look at this place here, and it's got roads and things, and you think, oh, it's not that bad. This is one of the best places there. and this was built during colonialism. None of those structures there have an African aesthetic to it, and one bit whatsoever. If it did, they would be huts and shit shacks. The cars going up and down the street are either Caucasian or Chinese. They've never done anything in any capacity towards anything like that. They don't have an Aristotle or a Socrates or a Plato or a Nostradamus or an Einstein. It's just not capable of happening. It's kind of weird to look at it that way, but that's the world we live in. What else do they got?
For context, Taiwan, with a population of 23 million people, had a total trade of $869 billion in 2024.
All right.
While Nigeria's trade volume for the same year was just $89 billion.
Oh my God. Well, you know, that trillions of dollars Whitey put into it, you can see it hopping up and down and on the graph here. And whenever it hops up and down, that usually corresponds with corruption in the government and ruining it all, and then having to rebuild it again and ruin it all. But you notice how it's really gone up high. If we were to go back to 2020, the numbers wouldn't even be good to look at. They wouldn't even be anywhere 89 billion. You look and it's less than half that amount. So I want you to figure that in whenever he says all of this to you. But there's 230 million people. They only gave 89 billion with the output. But what did he just show you before that? That's kind of weird.
Despite having over 10 times more people.
So here's the one I was waiting for. 10 times the amount of people. 23 million, 230 million. I mean, it's just straight math. You should be able to do this. Total trade, 89 billion. Well, that sounds okay or something. No, total trade of Taiwan that has 10 times less people. If you've got 100 people over here, you only have 10 over here, and those fuckers are able to put out 10 times the amount that's put out by Nigeria. In Taiwan, in this little country, this little island country here, of these industrious fucking people, put out this much, more than 10 times the amount of Nigeria itself. But it gets worse.
Interestingly, Taiwan's trade volume surpassed that of West Africa's entire population of 466 million people.
The little country of Taiwan was able to put out more GNP in a fiscal year, and this is average. This was, this is their great year, their worst, or anything, and don't try to play some stupid shit. They were able to put out not only more than Nigeria, but if you take all of the Congo countries all together and add it up, they beat that number. That's a big number of people not being able to make shit compared to another country that has far less people putting out so much more. Can you understand the difference that's being expressed here? I don't think you can. It's so much. If we said a square block of stone was these people put out, they put out 230 stones and didn't stack them or do anything. These people built a pyramid. In fact, we got 3 of them. In fact, we have hundreds. But sub-Saharans never built any pyramids. I don't want to get into the fact that the pyramids that are in what we call Nubia today are actually never were built by those people. They were built by the Caucasian Egyptians that were ruling over the Nubians at the time of the viceroys of Kush. If you wiki that, you'll find out and you'll realize all that was built for them. If you look at the artwork that's in those, it's all those Caucasian Egyptians and light women and so on and everything, and giving praise to those people. And in some of those, it tells you a man's name. What's that man's name? That's the one the tomb was supposed to be for. So, people try to hide things like this or act goo-goo, and it's hilariously sad. They tell black people, well, I know you can't be happy with yourselves because you're a piece of shit, but these people over here, let me tell you a lie. They built a bunch of pyramids and everything, and then they say, we, and it's like, tug your wee, because you're not even related and didn't know that ever existed, but you're trying to say something. And this is just you trying to compare yourself to Caucasians like there's any comparison whatsoever between pre-Neolithic hominid hybrid dung hut dwellers and the incredible Caucasian computerized spacemen that built everything in front of you right now. And so this whole everything's so fair isn't so fair. It's close between Orientals and Caucasians, but Orientals are trying to follow Caucasians and mimic and build off that. The invention thing we were talking about before isn't really in their favor much either. Gunpowder, the compass, and a couple of other things. Irregardless, we're left with these people we're trying to talk about. That only in comparison should we mention these other guys, because it really shows the factuality, and compare it. Be like, well, they did this. Well, these other people do this. And we're not asking you to say anything about it. We already know the answer. You do too, but you're too busy trying to pimp yourself and claim your Wakanda to have enough respect for yourself to quit lying. It's disgusting, but that's just par on the course. That's on that piece of paper too. Let's continue.
If you still believe that we are impoverished due to some covert Western agenda, you may not be grasping the actual issues at hand.
If you blame it on Whitey that you're unable to do anything, that's just showing that you're unable to do anything, and you like to blame other people. And of course, you pick out the Caucasian spacemen that are propping you up and trying desperately to get you to catch in, and you can't, and you're incapable. But he points it out here because he knows people do this. They try to blame it on Whitey. The only upstep you've had in this whole thing here so far is colonization got you somewhere, but that all failed and it's turned to shit again. You're unable to do what's asked of you to come to a certain level. And no one said you had to be at that level. It's due to your envy, like that cargo cult where you try to do something. But that cargo cult built an airplane that can't even fly, and they sit out there all day not doing anything to better to themselves, waiting on more cargo from those white people. Because John Frum is God. Oh yeah, and then they show pictures of all these whiteys and they call them God, but we don't want to show that to black people in America. That, oh, you think they're gods? No, your people think they're gods. No, that's not your people. You're not even related to them. That's some prims that were in the jungle, about as advanced as you were when we met you, and they got some stuff from them and they turned into this cargo cult. It's very similar to what's going on here, except there's no fence. Like apartheid or anything. You're just around Whitey, so you start making up stupid lies about we was the Egyptians, we were the Minoans, and believe it or not, they've claimed they were everyone but themselves, except for the Inuit Eskimos. It's something that keeps being blank on our bingo cards here, and we're just waiting for you to try to claim it. I mean, we don't want you to try to do it or anything. Of course, you haven't tried to do anything ever. Why don't you just claim we were Eskimos instead of ourselves? I mean, it would be the joke of humanity, but at the same time, it would finally fill up a bingo card, for God's sake.
Reality is that we are not manufacturing or producing many of the basic goods we require. To develop our local economies, we must focus on internal trade and foster exchanges with neighboring countries.
Yeah, you'd have to quit being a mooch. And I want to get back to that picture that's here. You see Africa in this, and a lot of people don't realize that America would fit in here like twice going across. This place is huge. All this green area is sub-Saharan Africa, but down here on the Cape, Whitey made all of that. And then up here where it shows tan, that's all Whitey. See, he's kind of tan. I wish I could stick my hand in front of the camera, but I'm about that color, or actually darker than that right now. And we're in winter, but anyhow, and there's a pyramid here, but it's not in the black area. Oh no! Anyhow, a lot of these top areas here are really the Sahara Desert. This whole band across here is the Sahara Desert. There's not much of Libya in the front parts here. They're up. This all used to be called Libya. And then it was changed to Africa. Both of them were named after endemic Caucasians that lived there. You wouldn't believe, y'all listening to me internationally, black people in America want to say that Caucasians weren't in Africa. It wasn't named after that. Black people were all over the place, all the way to the edge right there of Egypt. And then Whitey showed up. Then other ones want to claim they were the Hebrews and everything else. But what they won't claim is themselves. It's been stated long ago. They won't ever claim themselves. They keep claiming other people that have any advancements over them in saying we and pointing at them far, far away. Yeah, and everybody sees through this, and it's a disgusting joke. It's the reason that they joke on humanity's earth here. Let's continue.
Internal trade and foster exchanges with neighboring countries. These will strengthen local currency, create jobs, and enhance government revenues.
Now, what he's telling you, it gives you a possibility of doing something with what you've got. But what he's trying to relate to you is they're incapable of doing the thing that takes it to that level. And there are about 10 different ways they could do, and all 10 of them have blocks caused by themselves because, well, to be honest, they're recent Prim people and they have no idea what the fuck's going on. Let's continue. Oh, and if you think you know what's going on, you should go back and help them, like that black girl that wants to move back under Whitey again. She expresses the fact that they don't have a clue, and this guy does, and so many people have, but they want to say we was clue, and it's like, oh my God.
There's no magic solution to these challenges. The total intertrade among 16 West African countries, which have a population of 466 million people, was just $52 billion in 2020.
2024, 460 million sub-Saharans, this area in the top right-hand corner that's shown here, all they could pull off is $52 billion worth of trade out. And that might sound kind of good to you, but we're in a modern time. Shit's accelerating. It just adds up. It's incredible. It blows your mind how much money that America has. Apparently, just throw at countries, billions of dollars left and right, and then make the deficit on the Caucasians that try to keep everything in play. And it's disgusting. And we've realized now that they're spending far too much money on far too much frivolous, stupid things and telling you should be doing it. And they're doing it behind our back to the point that we need to stop that. Elon Musk, which is the richest sub-Saharan African in history, has been put in place by Trump to try to find all these problems, and in just a short amount of time he found enough. They're like, that's enough for a little while. We're going to put these others on this other task that really stick out like a sore thumb. Oh my God, what's going on? And I don't know if you've been looking at the news lately, but the Somalians, when they got here, tried to take advantage of us to the tune of over $8 billion they deem so far. But there are people that are saying it'll go over 10 easy, and I said something stupid about 18.5 million, but I think I'll be closer to the number than they were when they started telling you about it, because it was less than $1 million. It was a couple of 100,000, and they were like, well, what's this? Oh, what's that? Hold on, we were looking at one, and there are hundreds. Oh, wow. Hundreds of the, oh my God, they're just, oh yeah, get on that fucking boat. We weren't supposed to bring people over here to where they could try to ruin our nation, the enemy within. You see, that's what we get, and we've had it all along. When we started off America, there was already this problem we inherited, but there's been an enemy all along who's not trying to catch in and help, and let me grab that for you. No, grab that for me, Whitey. Do something. I want all this white stuff, and I don't want to. We as kings, and that's all we get out of them. It's amazing. We get a big pile of steaming nothing out of them. 466 million people. I want you to think about that. They make 52.8 billion. That sounds okay. Let's compare that here. Let's do it.
In contrast, Switzerland, with a population of just 8 million, traded $127 billion with Germany in the same year.
I know some of you it's not mathing to. Let's just simply say a far smaller amount of people were able to make more than double the amount in this little bitty country that there are states in the United States that are bigger than. And half Switzerland is taken up with the Alps and the mountains with those little upward arrow, little pyramid-looking things that are there. And they're able to pull that off. And believe me, he's not saying, let's look at the richest one and compare. They're just grabbing this little bitty one. They would fit in any of those countries on the left and have room left over, and yet they're able to pull this off. Oh, well, that's amazing. But again, we're talking about Whitey Cracker doing something versus other people. You've got to realize Switzerland doesn't allow in prims to try to ruin the country, which is what everybody else in the West has done recently. And it's in the guise of trying to prop them up, but we realize it's in the guise of ruining everything, and we're trying to stop that now. And after that's over with, maybe we'll talk about the new bill. Get on that fucking boat. But let's continue. Switzerland, so much more than double the amount of all the Congo. It's the people that were kings. Yeah, so we have that effect. So this ought to, it starts hitting home.
Singapore, with just 5 million people engaged in intertrade worth $54 billion with Malaysia, while Hong Kong with...
Now, just their trade with Malaysia added up to that much. That's the way you described it, and it's the amount of interim commerce that went between those. Now let's look at Hong Kong. It's crammed. It's this little island set that's here, and we all know Hong Kong and things. And of course, they mimic the West. They put up neon signs, and skyscrapers, and everything. And I've described how they don't wear wooden shoes and sit on the floor and eat with sticks and live in paper houses anymore. If they ever eat with chopsticks, it's more of a heritage type thing. But there are some traditionalists. But other than that, they're mimicking the West. They're mimicking the West directly. And then all of their infrastructure is built on commodities that are popular in the West. Automobiles, electronics, everything. That all has to do with the people that built electricity in the first place and all the other, everything else, including automobiles. Yeah, the exports that are supposed to be invented by them aren't really that popular. But let's continue. 7 million people. How much do they do?
7 million people had an intertrade with South Korea, totaling $45 billion.
Hong Kong alone, just with Singapore, just doing that trade across there he talked about, did $45 billion. So almost as much as all the Congo at once.
No one would want to visit a country where over 85 million cases of bribery occur in the public sector each year.
Yep. Isn't it a description? It's just all the corruption and bribery, all the trying to steal, and all the things that are not conducive to the Western world whatsoever. We have to have some modicum of decency here and not have that go on. That's the ruiner of everything. Yet there are people that live off theft. Did you know that over 70% of the smoke alarm beeps are caused by less than 12% of the smoke alarms? Look at the faces on their money. It looks like there's a white guy and then a black guy. There's a white guy and then a black guy. What's up with that? Is it still money y'all were using from back before? Have y'all made up new money? I mean, what's going on here? Of course, they have a problem with making money and things too, but let's not even go down that road just right now. We're only halfway through with this, by the way. Let's continue.
The infrastructure in Nigeria and many other African countries are lacking. There are insufficient roads, trains, air traffic system, and reliable means for transporting goods.
In a video I did a couple of months ago, I described where another man who's a PhD in psychology had went to these countries to talk to these people because he had some ideas, and he started talking to them, and he realized something that blew his mind and changed his whole thoughts. He realized that they have no concept or even a word for maintenance. They don't have a word or a concept for better than. Like you build one and you go, that's pretty good, and you build about 10 of them, and somebody picks one out and says, this one is better than the rest. We need to try to make them all look this good. They don't even have a concept of that. They don't have a concept of the future or working toward the future. They even said something weird. It's like their future is their past and this, that, and the other. And the golden age is when they were prims and enabled to do anything whatsoever. So it's so fucking backwards. And you're like, well, what the fuck goes on? Hold on, let's apply that to blacks in America, and you can understand where their mentality's at. Oh, we better not do that. They get real offended whenever the truth. Oh, shh. No, this needs to come out before the boat ride. People, don't just leave them in the dark about don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, they're already at that state in the first place. Come on. Can't we just talk to them? Oh, we can't? They start wobbling their heads and getting pissed off once they find out it's... Oh, yeah. That's reason number 613 that you can't get anywhere. Yeah. It's your own fault again. Here it goes. People trying to teach you, trying to tell you things you can't handle it. Let's go.
Institutions lack solidity and transparency, resulting in significantly low productivity. Some might argue that they are road to trains flight. However, try driving from Benin City to Akure in Nigeria, a distance of just 112 kilometers, and you will see how many hours it takes you.
It's about 55, 60 miles, and it takes you 3 hours to go that far on the roads. So the infrastructure's all fucked. All the roads just turn to mud. And of course, we're talking about the Congo. It rains there, believe it or not. But whenever it does, everything turns to mud. And the people there, if they find your car broke down or stuck, they fuck you over and want money to get your car out of the ground. The weird thing is they've gone down there and made potholes so your car will get stuck, so you'll have to give them money to get your car out of the hole. Oh, how disgusting. Right before he started showing you this map, he was showing you they got trains and shit going on. Those trains were all made by Caucasian, train tracks, everything else. That's the infrastructure that's gone to shit because no one will keep up with it. Yeah, you didn't invent trains out of nowhere or anything. Come on now.
You will also face around 50 police checkpoints, each one attempting to extort bribes, turning the journey into a nightmare.
To try to drive through any parts of Africa, even 50 miles, 60 mile stretches, is a nightmare of thievery and trying to steal your money at 50 checkpoints inside of a 55, 65 mile run, and every one of them wants money from you, and if you drive up in a decent car or look decent, they got you. They're going to try to find something. You're going to have to give them some money. Oh yeah, it's just corruption on corruption on corruption. Could you imagine how black America would be? Let's say we went away on vacation for a couple of months. If we came back, it would blow your mind what it would have turned into. Give them a year or two, give them 10 years. Oh my God, yeah. So they have this dream that white people are going to leave somehow, and that somehow they're going to get the white stuff. That's what their real dream is, because then they could have something. Their dream is not to go back to Africa and make something worth a shit. Their dream is to steal from Whitey and then claim we was. How disgusting. Can't do it on your own. And the answer is stealing. But back in Africa here, you can't drive down the road without them mooching and stealing on you all the way there. You got a toll booth, and it's not $1.25 like it is here in America to pay for the roads to get fixed and everything, and like it's supposed to. No, it isn't paid to anybody. You're just paying mooches to even be able to drive by. Sounds like some checkpoints in World War II and Stalag 13 and all that type of shit, but it's Africa, because if you want to drive, you got to pay.
Additionally, you may encounter potential kidnappers, robbers, and other hazards like potholes and damaged roads.
So then they actually have robbers and banditos trying to steal your shit. Oh, you can call them a bunch of different names through history that we've had, highwaymen and all these things, but they sit out on the road and try to catch people coming by, and if they can stop the thing, watch out. I mean, they might kill you just for something stupid. Can you imagine that there? Here we are at a checkpoint type thing, and they built those ruts that I told you about so your car will get stuck because you'll have to give them money. And somebody said that's their best GMP in that little village. You couldn't really be able to call it a village. There's just a bunch of dung huts right behind that tree over there. And it's not civilization. They want to steal off civilization. If you want to drive your spaceman shit through here, you've got to pay me money. You're going to get stuck in a pothole, and you owe me whitey. Or darky here, whatever.
Situation is not unique to Nigeria. Countries like Ghana, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Angola, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Cameroon, Botswana, and many others are similarly affected. Our economies are weak, unproductive, disconnected, and isolated. Our currencies reflect this weakness.
Don't look at that money. You'll want to steal it from them. So he says, if this isn't the thing, I've been trying to use the area here of the Congo, but all these little countries all around us, it's all the same. It's all the same. And what's the uniformity that you can see between it? Well, it's all chim-chim here. It's all sub-Saharans and what they're capable of. Look, this is all okay as long as you're doing it there. But whenever you try to come to our countries and put the leech mooch on, it's kind of hard to deal with. And I'm sure you can understand that you wouldn't want anybody come leeching off you. And of course, nobody could leech from you in your country. You're at the 8 of the top 10 lowest countries in the world. So you can't compare apples to oranges, and you sure can't compare a dung hut to a skyscraper. But let's continue.
They are not tied to strong local production-based economies that are interdependent on each other and their regional counterparts.
Thought then comes to mind. It's just, one of those things where you can't keep your mind from working. So we're talking about going back to Liberia, and the idea is that they like cruise lines now. They've been on the Carnival Cruise Lines, literally ruining the company. I mean, turning it into some kind of ghetto street shit and everything. And everybody's made comments about it. Even black people have made comments where they thought they were going on a cruise. They could relax and get away from, believe it or not, they were trying to get away from their own people and the bullshit that goes on. But, you could fit a lot of people on a cargo ship like this. I mean, if you look over here, that's a guy and that's a guy right there. I mean, so how many could you fit and call it Carnival Cruise Line or Carnageville Cruise Line if you want to, or whatever cute name you want to come up with? We could fit a lot more people on ships like that. And then it comes to mind, there are ships that are 6 times this size. If we just rented them for a while, it'd take a whole lot less journeys and we'd burn up a lot less gas going across the ocean and everything. Always trying to be economic and things. But, real problem there. But how many people could we, whenever the bill goes through, maybe we could utilize things like that. How many people can you put down in the inside of it there? And can you make that to where it's got little rooms for people or anything? Or put like a tent hut house on the top of it? What would you have to put around the perimeter so they don't fall off in the water and try to blame Whitey for it or anything? I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that have to go into this, but once it reaches that point, it's just going to be at that point. Whatever happens, just happens.
Another example of the challenges faced by black majority countries can be seen in nations outside Africa that are black majority, such as Haiti, Jamaica, Grenada, and Dominica. They all struggle with weak economies.
That's strange. It's starting to look like perhaps the dark area of the map here really wants to be around the light area of the maps here as a mooch leech. And what he just showed there is that even whenever they're close, but it's them, all those countries are ruined. It's weird, but everywhere Mary went, the lamb was sure to go and sure to end up slums of ruin. Haiti's real problem is they took all the trees off of a jungle island to try to make charcoal out of so they could cook their foods or whatever, and not having any idea what they were doing, they've turned it into a swamp now, and anytime they have any problems there, like a hurricane, oh my God, just decent rains cause mudslides and problems. Of course, they eat mud cookies there. Should I interject something showing you they eat mud cookies right here, or can we go past that point? They eat mud cookies there to this day. And the other half of the island, Dominican Republic, is much different. Someplace you may want to go to vacation. What's the difference? They don't play that shit. Oh, wow. Yeah, see, so you see all these Caucasian domesticated countries that are all doing fantastic civilized places and stuff, and there's just a big dark area of nothings. Again, the name of this is Africans Have Built Nothing. What he needs to call it is Sub-Saharan Africans Have Built Nothing, because North Africans are Caucasian and they built great things, and at one time had a great people, and still there to this day there are these blondes and blue-eyed and Caucasian people there, and I'm sure the blacks in America can't stand all these facts. Usually you can get about 3 into it, and then they start throwing a fit and wanting to fight you. Whenever you've got them on the internet, if they'll just look at something, it's a black person trying to tell you what the problem is. I bet we still have problems. They just can't deal with it. Well, then the problem is you need to go over there and help them fix it, because at least you've been around whitey enough to understand something. You don't want to help out your own people. You'd rather be a mooch. You need to say that publicly. You need to all get together and go, we is mooch, and you let everybody know that right before we put you on the boat and you go over there anyhow. Let's continue.
Dominica, they all struggle with weak economies. In contrast, predominantly white countries are those that were invaded and now occupied by white people outside of the traditional Europe, such as New Zealand, Australia, the USA, Canada, Brazil, and parts of Africa like South Africa and Namibia, have developed economies by building infrastructure that facilitates trade and movement. They have
quite a contrast there. If you just involve enough white people, it suddenly becomes a totally different thing. And black people really, really want to be around those and in the better country, but they're trying to claim it, and the reason they can't do it is your fault. You see the thing that's on that list there, and one of the major points, it gets a star beside it, is accountability. Accountability. It's just below lying. And by the way, your skin color is like 8th on the list. And if you'd shut up about it, it wouldn't even be on the list. The reason it's 8th on the list is you won't shut up about it. And you keep acting like that's the problem. It's just my skin. And again, skin is like 8th on the list. But no one cares about it, but you won't shut up about it. And you've said you have magic melanin and all kinds of foolish, idiotic things. And so that's the only reason it ends up on the list in any bit whatsoever. But this white lady here has more of the capability to make a civilization than anybody else in the picture. It's sad to note that in the modern day, but hey, that's the way the world is. Nothing's ever fair. Hey, listen, there's going to be a more advanced and there's going to be a less advanced. There's going to be ooh and there's going to be ah and there's going to be everything else. And we're just sorry. No, we're not sorry. It's not our fault that you are the one that's considered to be the less of humanity. Oriental people, Caucasians, and then and what's weird is that, like, you think you're right behind them, you're right there, and you're not. Whenever we look at it, you're like way down here while being propped up. If that shit in it would go and just fall, and we all know it. So they're dependent on us even more than that here in America. But the real thing is, why couldn't they do it back in Africa? And that shows us something about why they can't do it anywhere. He just described the fact of anywhere they are, Haiti, any of these places, there isn't one that could stand out and go, look, here's a great one, or anything like that. And it's not because whitey don't prop them up enough or any of the stupid shit they try to say. They never look in the mirror. That's on that list.
Established an environment where people, organizations, and businesses can thrive by implementing sound policies that secure their borders. In 2025, many African countries still have less than 35% power coverage. In Nigeria,
having electricity. Now, I know it's Whitey Cracker thing, but we've shared all of our stuff with the world if you can do something with it. 35% have power. Now, wait till the end of this and he explains the power's on and off because they can't do a goddamn thing and don't know how to run it, and they aren't running anything but their mouths, and they're getting into fights, macheting each other for that's my job and just stupid fucking shit. Just constantly. But it gets worse before it gets better. Does it get better? Here's going to explain who has and hasn't Whitey power.
only 65% of the population have access to electricity, and those who do often have service only a few hours per day. Furthermore, 95% of Nigerians lack access to public running water. They must dig boreholes and treat the water themselves. If they treat it at all, who knows? This could be a contributing factor to Nigeria having one of the lowest life expectancies in the world.
There's that issue too. Before we get into that, they can't even make the wells give themselves water and shit. You know, there's that YouTuber guy, what's his name? Oh god, it escapes me right now. Mr. Oh god, I can't forget it. I've got too much on my mind right now. Mr. I had it there for a second. Anyhow, he goes around the world just doing all kinds of things, and he actually went to sub-Saharan Africa and built all kinds of wells for them and everything. And you wouldn't believe, but black people in America were all talking shit like he was the white savior and all this stuff and everything. Well, believe it or not, the country that they did it to called him the white savior, and we're just totally down with it. So you just want this thing where you just can't handle the truth, and you've got a mental issue and a blocker on all reality, and you're fucking yourself doing this constantly, all out of pride in a dung hut, in a leech life, under Whitey's wing. Let's see what you can do without under Whitey's wing. But hold on, not only do they have lack of electricity and even decent drinkable water, but he's saying that might be one of the contributing factors that they have the lowest life expectancy of any humans on the planet at this point. The 10 lowest ranking countries: Nigeria, Chad, South Sudan, Congo, African Republic, Lesotho, I don't know where that is, apparently it's a small one, Somalia, Mali, Guinea, Benin, Burkina Faso. And we have the lowest life expectancy of any humans there. That's while they're given antibiotics and modern Whitey drugs and things to try to help it out, and all kinds of water purifiers, all kinds of things like that about it. There's one village, I mean, you could just pick 1,000 of these things happen. There's one village they went and built a water infrastructure for, and it didn't last 6 months, and it was all broke down. And they said, okay, and you build us another one? It's like, we just wasted $12 million. Y'all couldn't lube the thing. What the fuck? And they weren't allowed by their country to blow $12 million more to try to help out Prims in Africa. It's your own goddamn fault. They were going to use it as a virtue signaling thing where, like, look, you know what we did. Virtue signaling is big. They've got a card now, and you build up points and everything. You get frequent flyer miles. It's fucking great. And all you have to do is pander and say stupid lies like, blacks are great, or they're fine, everything's fine, or shit like that. They'll give you points for that. Anyhow, life expectancy, though, and of course in America they say all kinds of things. Oh, black don't crack and all these things. And it's like, oh, you're on crack, and you're stupid too, and you're pitiful, and you're self-disgusting, and you're so self-exposing, and you're trying to high side on the whiteys that are propping you up out of a dung hut civilization that you couldn't even maintain that, and your own people capturing and selling you off as unwanted for beads and alcohol or less. It's terrible. When you start really looking into the idea of it, it's like, damn. But they've got that yip-yip going in America. Oh, they're strutting around like they did something. Would you believe they call themselves better than themselves now? From being around Whitey, you're welcome. But they claim that they're so much better than what they used to be that they don't even want to be there anymore. That girl's video comes to mind. She loves Whitey.
South Africa and Namibia, the white population on average are the wealthiest people in Africa.
That sounds strange. How is it that Whitey could prosper and make something happen and others are incapable? Is there something in the wiring of their brain that doesn't allow them to be able to do certain things? This could all be studied, but we can't do that. That would be some Whitey thing, and they try to compare it to some kind of Hitler shit, like they always do, which is disgusting as fuck. We were the people that stopped Hitler and simultaneously killed and stopped the Japanese, let's just say, with all of that. And so double World War once, and we kicked that ass. And we did it. And if there was black people who were involved, they would just bring them along as a token. Oh, I know about the pilots and everything off of it. I know everything they try to say to everybody. I know it all. And I know it's pathetic. There might be something I don't know that I've never heard about easily. Let's just end this off, hopefully on a good note, but there's not a good note in this entire album.
In 10 years, an African takes charge of a project, organization, ministerial position, or even the presidency, they immediately switch on their tribal and myopic mindset, siphoning everything they can towards their fleeting interest. We are not ready for this. We simply can't build prosperous economies, which is why we remain poor. Can't build prosperous economies, which is why we remain poor. How else? Interest. We are not ready for this. We simply can't build prosperous economies, which is why we remain poor.
Let that sink in for a minute.
They built infrastructure and policies that contributed to their economic development until the blacks reclaimed control. While this might be a brutal truth to accept, it is essential to acknowledge that South Africa, under white leadership, despite its racial dynamics, was developed and more advanced than many countries deemed developed.
Yeah, they were fantastic. They were doing good. South Africa's great. I grew up in playing golf with my father and everything, and there's great golf in South Africa. And I remember being a kid and seeing one of the videos and trying to figure out where this is all at and all that shit. And they did a special leading into it where they took like a helicopter and flew around, kind of showing you the deal. And the end of the flight was over the golf course as they brought it back to the guys, and all that type of stuff. But in doing so, you could see how amazing it was in cool places. And they described and named a couple places. And I remembered that and had little fleeting memories. And what sucked so bad is after they ended up taking and ending apartheid, and there should have been some other way, people, but anyhow, after ending apartheid, now that place no longer exists. I saw it in a video and didn't even recognize it one whatsoever until they told me, and my heart just sunk. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Let's try to end with the fact that the way it used to be versus the way it is now. And what's the difference? Can you figure it out? I think we can all figure it out.
When a project is proposed to an African with a 10-year plan, it seems like a lifetime to them. We are more interested in what we can benefit from today and now, not in 10 years.
Oh, that's a good place. It's that instant gratification thing. It's the same thing that brings apart rape and stuff, instead of trying to find a girl that might like you, or any myriad of problems on there. I remember when I was a kid, we had milk breaks in the morning and stuff, and you could get regular milk or chocolate milk, and of course everybody paid 1 cent more for chocolate milk. Anyhow, in our class, we had the teacher, right at Christmas time, had made a bunch of chocolate chip cookies. And when we came in that day, you could smell them. And she told us that with our milk break, if we wanted, we could have a cookie that she made for us. But if you'll wait till lunch, she'll give you 2 cookies. And all the black kids in the class wanted that cookie now, and there were very few white people that chose the cookie now. And I remember one kid, his name was Jeff, he's got cookies in his lunchbox, so he didn't give a shit, and he grabbed one. Okay, whatever. But blacks wanted all to grab it. And then when we got right before lunch, she started handing out all the cookies, and blacks started getting mad, and they said that you should give them one of your cookies. So they could have had 2 cookies instead of 1 cookie, and the teacher had to explain to them, you're the greedy little fuck that can't handle the world, and maybe this taught you a lesson. Did it? Did it? Want a cookie? You want a dirt cookie? That's about enough of this. At the end of this, he tries to give you a forward look on what they might possibly do. It involves getting white people back involved in colonialism to see if you can get anywhere. And when they leave again, then you could just fail it all and fuck it all up again. So that's about it for this one. Let me know what you think down below. Peace.
A fragrance from deepest Africa. Dung.
From the makers of Diangun, we bring you We.
Ready for more than a holiday? Let Carnageville Cruise Lines take you on a one-way journey to sunny Liberia. Soak in sunshine that feels personal. Build memories that last.